Hello. So, game week 36. Let's have a look at this. I guess I'll have a quick just recap of what happened in 35 and then talk about my plans for 36. It's a bit tricky this game week. There's quite a lot to talk about, so let's just jump into it. Game week 35, I got a little red arrow. I was a little bit unsure of the game week. Wildcard 32 felt good, bench boost 33, free hit 34, smashing it. I think the team looked good, but it's starting to kind of, narratives change as the season progresses, as the game weeks go and I was a bit unsure about it. I think it was just the Burnley clean sheet wipeout of the Leeds clean sheet, Burnley wiping that out. If that hadn't happened, I think it'd have been better. And one thing I've kind of realised, the whole season, I feel like I haven't been playing that great. And one of the things, my weaknesses, I think, is lazy thinking. I haven't been playing as well as I could be. I hear some people talk about how there's only so much research you can do. I think I've even said this, where there's only so much research you can do and then it doesn't really matter after that. But sometimes I think actually it does. And basically, this next game week 36, I think I've started to decide that I may not go for any Palace anymore. I think my plan was to go for 3. I'm now currently thinking none. And basically, if I'd realised that and thought ahead last game week, I probably would have got Gabriel in last game week. Because the main reason I didn't get Gabriel in was because I had so many good defenders in 36. I thought it's probably not worth it. I was going to have 3 Palace. I was going to have Van Heck against Wolves. Is that it? I thought I had... Oh, yeah, and O'Reilly. Obviously, and O'Reilly. So that would have been my five defenders. So if I'd have thought ahead a little bit better, maybe I would have brought Gabriel in last week, and then maybe that would have made the difference. I'd have another green arrow, be feeling good. Little things like this, but instead I've dropped back a bit, and I'm now like 32 points off top 100k. It's not going to happen. I mean, unless you get a massive low EO monster haul. Yeah, I still need, I could have a punt on a Nico O'Reilly captain instead of Haaland, or try and find somebody. I may do something like that, but I still don't feel it. I still feel like I just want to play the way I always play. Just pick the players who I think are going to score. I don't want to do something that I wouldn't ordinarily just to force it. I don't really want to do that. And I think I'm not that fussed if I don't finish in the top 100k either. I feel like and especially if it's at the risk of dropping further back, that would bum me out. I'm not that desperate to get into the top 100k if it's at the risk of ending up in the top 300, 400k or something like that. So I think I'm just going to tick along. Anyway, so that's that. Game week 36. So yeah, so as I was saying, like, the narratives are changing and my team's starting to look a little bit squeakier now, not quite as good. So Chelsea have been a disaster. When I put Chelsea in my wild card, a lot of people were saying, why are people going for Chelsea? Chelsea are absolute dog crap. But I was just looking at the data and thinking, nah, what do they know? And that might have been one of those things where it's grass versus analytics, and maybe people could see something in Chelsea that the data wasn't picking up, because they have been crap. They've been a total disaster, really. I've barely got any points from them, apart from that João Pedro goal, which salvaged something. They do seem to be quite bad. So, so they're a problem now, because I was kind of thinking I might keep them, because even though the Liverpool game's tricky, Liverpool's defence has been really bad. If I have a quick look at the form charts, they're still bottom 4 Liverpool's defence in the last 6 game weeks. Didn't do much better against Man United either, so I was kind of half thinking I might keep them, and then Chelsea then go on to play Tottenham and Sunderland, and I was kind of thinking that game against Tottenham could be the game that sends Tottenham down, and then Sunderland are on the beach. I still might, but they're not looking as good. The Bournemouth boys, they're actually looking better. They were originally my ones I was going to sell, because they go on to play. I thought Fulham would be tricky. Then Man City and then Forest. I thought that could be kind of tricky, but now they're actually looking kind of good form. So I'm not so eager to get rid of them. Leeds, I'm starting to go off, especially in that Tottenham game. I think Tottenham are going to be really up for that Leeds game. That could be the game that keeps them up. So I think they're going to be super up for that. And Leeds, by the time that game comes around, West Ham play first against Arsenal. And if West Ham don't beat Arsenal, even if they just draw, Leeds are basically up. They probably already know it as well. Leeds' form has actually been really good. They're like best defence in the league in the last 6. Pretty good attack. So they're actually playing really well, apparently. So there is an argument to keep them, but I kind of fancy that game will be tough and Leeds will be on the beach a bit. So yeah, Leeds not looking that great. Semenyo, Cherki, maybe Cherki's better. I've got Weaver injured now. So I've got teams creaking a bit. So I got 5 free transfers though and shed loads of money in the bank, 6.5. Who are the players I don't have that I want? It's triple Arsenal, or as many Arsenal as I can. I might just go 2 Arsenal. I'm thinking Gabriel Saka and then leaving 1 spot spare for the Burnley. There's a triple Palace that I was looking at, and I still might, but I'll come on to them in a minute. Cherki's a possibility. I quite like Hinshelwood. He's really high on the model. He's doing really well XGI wise. He could be a nice little punt. Other players, I can't remember if there's other players. I'll see if my model, but I think that's what I'm thinking about. I mean, for game week 36, most of these players all at the top are all just Man City Palace players, but this is assuming they're going to start both games. This is assuming they're going to start both games, which is kind of tricky with Palace. You got Rodgers is up there against Burnley, but I don't think I fancy that. He then goes on to play Liverpool, Man City. Liverpool's defence is crap, but they got the Europa. I don't know. I don't think I'm feeling going back into Rodgers again. Elliot Anderson, nah, I don't think so. Szoboszlai. I've heard some people talk about Liverpool, Chelsea, then Villa. That could be a Villa before the Europa League. They might rotate. Then Brentford. Szoboszlai maybe, but yeah, Hinshelwood, if he starts, because his start rate is 65%, but I think he is starting these games now. He'd actually be really high. 6.03 is really good. He's 0.8 XGI, 0.56 of that in the last 6, 0.56 of that XG. He looks really good, and that's been pretty consistent over the last like 5 game weeks. And he's got 2 goals now. He looks quite explosive. 0.6 XG EO as well. So if I want like a nice punt, he could be the one. If he spikes a 15-pointer at 0% EO, pretty much, he could be the one that does it. So quite like him. Welbeck. These are the players that I'm thinking of, are on the that I'm thinking of getting in. And just while I'm on the topic, going back to like Liverpool players, Szoboszlai, this Aston Villa one. So because there's some talk of rotation, isn't there? And so if Aston Villa get to the EFL, the Europa League final, their game will be moved to the Friday here. Same with Nottingham Forest. If it's Nottingham Forest that get to the Europa final, their game will be moved to the Friday. Villa play Liverpool in 37. Forest play Man United in 37. So there could be rotation for Villa. But just going back to last year, it's a bit 50-50 because last year, Tottenham, before the Europa League final, Tottenham totally rotated their team, like pretty much the entire team, whereas Man United only rotated like 1 player. I don't know if I've got it up here. This was the final, and this is Tottenham's teams. This is the final. They had like Vicario, Udogie, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro. But in this game they had Kinski, Spence, Danzo, Davies, Reguilon. They basically had the whole Sarr played both, but other than him, Gray, Odegaard, Moore, Son, he didn't play in the final. So they rotated their entire team. Whereas Man United, I think their only player was Lindelof, and in the final they played Yoro, but everybody else was the same. So it's 50-50. So the idea of Liverpool players being good before this Villa game, it depends. I don't know whether they'll rotate. Rodgers probably wouldn't. Villa, they'll have like 5 days rest before the Friday there, then another 5 before the final. So it's, I don't know, it's a bit 50-50. Forest probably more likely to rest. So Man United picks could be a good punt. Man United going into Sunderland, on the beach Sunderland, rotated Forest, then away to Brighton on the final day might be interesting. Just because Forest seem to be rotating a lot in the Europa. But, yeah. What was the other thing? And then Bournemouth, yeah. So Bournemouth, and then the other side of that, so after the Europa League final, if Villa get to the final, Man City, might be nice to keep your triple Man City for that game, because they could be tired for that. Although Man City will have this game here, so not much difference. And then with Forest, they're playing Bournemouth. So this is a reason why to maybe keep Bournemouth, because Bournemouth will have a nice rest for the week before they play Forest. And then Forest might be a bit tired if they get to the final of the Europa League. So that's, yeah, one reason why I may keep some Bournemouth players for that final game. We'll see what happens tonight. So team looks creaky. Triple Arsenal, probably going to try and get Saka and Gabriel. Hinchelwood seems good. Palace, I might avoid now. I'll get into the weeds in a minute, I think, of what I'm going to do. Strauch is the one I'm thinking of selling for Gabriel, because I think I just said this, but so Leeds, they're playing Tottenham. If Tottenham win today, this weekend, if West Ham fail to lose, or if West Ham get beat by Arsenal, which is likely, and Tottenham beat Leeds, West Ham play on the Sunday, Tottenham play on the Monday, they'll be 4 points clear. And then that means West Ham will have to get, and because of the goal difference, West Ham's goal difference is way worse. West Ham basically will have to beat Newcastle and Leeds for a chance to stay up. It's basically done, isn't it? It's like it feels really unlikely at that point. And the same with if Arsenal beat West Ham, Leeds will be safe. Leeds will be safe because they're on 43 points. They won't be able to catch them. So Leeds could be on the beach, even though they're playing well. So I think Leeds, maybe that Leeds versus West Ham game on the final day will be a dead rubber. They'll both be on the beach. They'll both be done. But see, the other thing I'm thinking as well is I'm trying to think of game week 37, because I don't massively love that. I'm going to have triple Bournemouth against Man City, which I don't love. I'm going to have Leeds versus Brighton, which I don't really like. It feels messy. That's a really tricky fixture, that. If I had to bet on somebody, it would probably be the Brighton guys, because they're playing well at the moment. But then Leeds are playing well. I don't know. I don't quite know who to bet on for that. Yeah, that's a tricky question. Leeds' defence is the best in the last 6 game weeks. Really, really good. This is included. It factors in the blank and the double and stuff. So that should be correct, that number. I hope so. Should be. Leeds' defence looks really good in the last 6. But then is that because they've just been fighting for survival, and now that they've got it, then the wind in the sails will change direction? I don't know. What's their XGI for the whole season? 1.42. So it hasn't been that great for the whole season. So it could just be late pushitis, and now they're done. I don't know. Because Spurs are up there as well. Look, they're suddenly playing quite well. Very difficult to read what's going to happen in the next 3 game weeks with all this kind of things that people have to play for. Because as you see, suddenly teams can really change their form. Like Liverpool, Newcastle down the bottom here. Form can change a lot whether you're on the beach or not. So maybe that narrative is important. Anyway, so I'm thinking though, Strauch will get rid of one of these Leeds players. Because he's just, I'm not sure I really love him for that. Can't get rid of O'Reilly. Can't get rid of Van Heck. So it's really a choice between these 2, Bournemouth and Strauch. So at the moment I'm thinking Strauch. But I don't know. I could do Senesi because he costs more, and my team value is quite tight. This is, at the moment, my moves go to 0. I've got the exact funds for it, so it's always a bit squeaky bum. Although it does feel nice when you get to 0. It makes it feel like that's meant to be. But Gabriel at the moment. Then Saka is probably going to be Enzo, because I'm starting to like Tav. I think Tav's alright. I've heard some people say Tav's a sell now, and originally he was for me because the Bournemouth guys go on to play Man City in the next game week, so I was thinking, well, get rid of him. But Bournemouth's XG is just, it's good all season, and it's still good. They're third best. They're really good. They've been playing really well recently, seemingly, according to the data. And then Fulham have been quite bad, although I think a lot of Fulham's numbers have been skewed by that 4.1 that Arsenal cooked up against them. If it wasn't for that, they'd be on about 1.6, so it's kind of below average, which is where you'd expect Fulham to be. So Tav, Bournemouth are good. Fulham are not that good. They may be on the beach a little bit now. I mean, if you look at the table, everybody's still got something to fight for. Apparently it's possible that you can have the top 10, I think, can all end up in a European spot. If Palace win the conference and one of Villa or Forest win the Europa League, I think we can get 10 places. Because you've got the FA Cup winner will be either Chelsea, or if Man City win it, we'll have 2 Europa spots. So that'll be in the top 8. And then I think Villa have to finish, if they win the Europa League but finish outside the top 4, then we end up with 6 Champions League spots. And then there'll be 6 Champions League, 2 Europa, and a conference. That's 9. And then if Palace win the conference, they'll go into the Europa. So we will have 3 Europa, 6 Champions League, 3 Europa, and a conference. Goes down to 10th, I think, something like that. So Fulham are like joint 10th at the moment, joint 9th. So you would think they should still have something to fight for, and so should Sunderland and Newcastle. And Newcastle do seem to be showing a bit of fight now. They were against Arsenal at least. So I don't know. Could Leeds be fighting for it still? Palace? Not miles away. It's possible to get to 10th. But I don't know. I think I was going to say that maybe Fulham have just realised that it's going to be too difficult. They've got too many teams above them. But probably not, really, is it? That doesn't work. So, yes, that could be tough for Bournemouth. But Fulham are not that good. XG wise, they're just average, aren't they? Just slightly below average, Fulham. Bournemouth's defence hasn't been that good. That's true, actually. People have been saying that the Senesi and Hill have been kind of lucky to get some of their clean sheets. So, pardon me. So I don't know. I might sell one of Senesi or Hill. It's also a question of, so one of these 3 to Gabriel. Gabriel feels likely to come in because it's just, even though West Ham are going to be fighting for their lives in that game, Arsenal are fighting for the title in that game as well, and Arsenal are better. So I think I just got to get Gabriel in, I think. And this is, I'm going off tangents, but this is another weakness of my game possibly, or maybe it's a strength. But I hear some people talk about, like, they can't go without Gabriel because he's so high EO, it's too scary. Whereas there's not something I've been thinking, I don't think about that much. Maybe with captaincy, but I don't think about that much, and maybe that's something I should think about a bit more. No, I don't like to think about it, but it obviously shot me in the foot last game week, and so maybe I'm thinking about it now. Gabriel, should maybe bring him in because he's high EO, possibly. And then then the other question is, so out of Senesi and Hill, is a Crystal Palace defender better than Senesi or Hill for this game week? And it's like, yeah, Bournemouth are good, but the defence isn't that good. It's a bit, Fulham could score, so Fulham at home. I might have to look at the home away stats. Yeah, I seem to remember Bournemouth being good away from home, but I have to look into that. In fact, let's just do it now. Understat. Is that understat? That's understat. Let's have a look at the home and away stats. So Fulham, You want Bournemouth away. What's their XGA like away from home? Yes, the worst, second worst. All right, so they're bad away from home. Possibly. I could have a look at the form as well on that. And then XG, Fulham are just below average, where they're always below average, aren't they? Can we look at, not that one. Oh, here it is, isn't it? So let's have a look at the first of Jan. I should have set this up really. 1st of Jan until today. Where are we? 4th, we're not on the 4th, are we? Whatever, there. Let's have a look at Bournemouth's defence since then. It's still below average away from home compared with everyone else. So, yeah. So maybe keeping Senesi isn't the best idea. So I might sell one of them. Maybe. The problem is I need to think about 37 as well. So because I'm thinking once I've got Gabriel and Saka in, I'm probably going to want a third Arsenal because I've got like no money. By the time I get Saka in, which is probably going to be Enzo to Saka because I want to keep Tav, and I think I might do Weeford to Hinchelwood. I've got like hardly any money, and so when I get the third one in, I'm going to have to do 2 transfers for my third Arsenal because I'm going to need to do one to a dead spot. It's either going to be Semenyo down to a dead spot or João Pedro or Calvert-Lewin down to a queue, something like that. I'm probably going to have to go down to some cheap player somewhere. So that's 2 transfers. So I'm a little conscious of using too many. Anyway, Gabriel, Saka. If I did Weeford to Hinchelwood, I'm going to want to play him. And this is another thing, which is so I was going to play Senesi. See, bringing in a Palace player now, I've got good players. I'm benching really good players here, like João Pedro against a Liverpool who have a dodgy defence at the moment. Calvert-Lewin against Tottenham. Leeds are actually playing really well. Their XG is really good. 4th best in the last 6. Senesi. But then transfers at this stage of the season, they're quite fine margins. I'm only talking about a couple of extra EV here and there is all I'm really talking about. But I don't know whether it's worth it to bring a Palace player in. So Tav I'm not too bothered about. I think I quite like Tav actually. Hinchelwood I like. Semenyo I'm probably going to keep. I know Cherki's looking better, but I don't think my model has Cherki miles above, or does he? Semenyo's there. Yeah, I mean Cherki's on like 11. He's like 3 point. He's up here with Haaland and O'Reilly, but he's only there because his minutes were less secure early in the season. But his minutes are probably as secure as Semenyo's right now, I would have thought. So, I actually think both of them, Semenyo and Cherki, I do think there's a chance that both of them could get rotated at some point. These 2 games, if you think. Sorry, I'm going on tangents again, but I was going through the minutes of Semenyo and Cherki, and they're not. I mean, they're starting most of the games, but they do miss a few here and there. Here's Cherki kind of missing a couple, and then because you don't always notice it because when you play an FPL, you're just thinking about the Premier League games, but they sometimes get rested in the cup games, Europe. Going back further, Cherki was getting a lot more rests, but Semenyo was getting the odd rest here and there. He'd come in from Bournemouth playing 90 every game, and then starts playing a few more 68, 74s. This is Semenyo, this is Cherki at the top here. He didn't play any of those 3 there in a row. Got 2 70s there, 75 and a 90. Here, this was where Pep was saying Semenyo's getting tired. Cherki played all of those, so that bodes well. And then we're up to the Everton game. And then they're about to go into this little run of Brentford, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Bournemouth, like that. That FA Cup final you would think is a priority, especially as they've dropped points against Everton, or is it? Don't know. Are they going to rotate in any of these games? I kind of this is what I was thinking is maybe Semenyo could get rotated in that Palace game, or Cherki, or one of them will miss one and one of them will play the other, and they'll both miss one and play the other. Because that's kind of seems to be a pattern sometimes with Europe when they have 3 in a week, they rotate a little bit. Maybe not, but I'm just, and I don't think it's really much less or more risk for Cherki or Semenyo, in my mind. I'm not an expert though, but so I don't think it's, for me, it's not massively worth doing Semenyo to Cherki. Not quite worth it. Semenyo, I don't know. He could always pull his finger out and get back to form. Yeah, it's a bit wishful thinking, but I think it's not quite enough for me to get rid of Semenyo, I don't think. So I'll be keeping him. But anyway, that's like the team. Van Heck's great. O'Reilly, Gabriel, Wolves, Brighton against double Wolves. I don't mind as much as when I had double Leeds against Burnley. Although Leeds' defence has been good, so I guess it's only one game. I don't know. I feel more confident with double Brighton against Wolves than I did double Leeds against Burnley. But so I think I'll stick with that. Yeah, Senesi. Yeah, so I might do one more transfer. Maybe Senesi to a Palace player. Should I go on to talk about Palace? I didn't really the next game week. So I mean, the Palace players, let's have a talk about Palace, because I feel like it might have to be either Canvo or Richards for me, because I wouldn't have the money to do Munoz or Lacroix if I was going to do Senesi to one of them. And I prefer Senesi to Hill keeping, but because I need the money, it probably would be Senesi, because Hill's not that much worse, I don't think. I just like Senesi because of his experience. So the Palace players, I mean, most people have probably already researched a lot of this, listened to other pods. It's the forwards are always getting rotated. Sarr, Mateta, Wharton I've got as options, but they're always getting rotated. The defenders tend to play every game though, get rotated less. Where are we up to then? So we're here, aren't we? Richards only played 15. Was that a rest? So he's now safe for this run. I don't know. One thing I'm thinking though is that this particular turnaround of like 3 games in like, what is that, 6 days, is particularly tight. If you go back, they usually had 3 games in like 7 days. There was a little bit more generous turnaround. I can't remember the last time they ever had 3 games in 3 days. Certainly not when Canvo was there. So back here they had a few. Then here, Lacroix played all of them, so that bodes well. This must have been when Canvo was just starting to play. Can't remember. No Richards or Munoz there. So Lacroix will probably play all 3 then, I guess. It's quite tight. The thing I was thinking though is that if you've got 3, you need, if you're going for defenders, they have to play. If you want DEFCON, they've got to play 90 in both games. You really need them to play 90 in both games. And then if you want to go have this chance of clean sheet, they really need to start both games as well and get the appearance points. It's quite important that they at least start both games and preferably play 90 in both games. Canvo, my thinking with Canvo is that because he's young, it might be a Nico O'Reilly thing where because he's young, he's more... they're more robust. They recover quicker. But I think so Lacroix and Canvo. But then people have been talking about this rest thing for Richards, and it's like, well, maybe that was his rest, and now Canvo or Lacroix possibly will get their rest in one of these games. Don't know. I think it will have to be Canvo for me that I go for. And I'll just have to hope he plays both. I guess there's always a bit of risk in every punt you take, so that will just be the risk I'll have to take. Don't massively love that I'll have no use for them afterwards. Really, I don't think I'll be playing them against Brentford. and certainly not against Arsenal. So Cambo, though, he's got very good defcon, 69%. It's really high, although Lacroix's 62. So Lacroix is like good. Cambo's XGI is all right as well for a defender. It's just fine. Some people talked about Everton being bad at set pieces, and Lacroix could be good for that. That's beyond my expertise, but yeah, I'll probably go Cambo if I was to go for one, just because of the money. But Lacroix is probably a little safer. And then Richards, has he had his rest, or is he actually, was he injured or something? I guess we need to find quotes for that. Still, I haven't done all the research yet, but maybe he was there was a reason if it wasn't just a rest. Yeah, I haven't decided. About. I may bring a Palace player in. If I was to do that, what are we doing? Cambo. If I was to bring Cambo or Richards in, I think I like Cambo just because he's lesser known, and it does look nice having a double game week there. I'll have 2 transfers in 37, so it basically means, as I said, if I want a third Arsenal, it's probably going to have to be part of a double switch, because I'm going to need a cash cow for the third Arsenal, whoever it is. So that would be my 2 transfers, just an Arsenal and a cash cow, which might be problematic. I'm not going to want to play Tav against Man City, which means I may have to play Pedro against Tottenham. It's not too bad. Calvert-Lewin against Brighton, but I don't really like that. I don't really like double Brighton defence against Leeds. I'm not sure I like that. So it's this kind of thing that makes me think maybe I just don't go for the Crystal Palace, and because I might want to just brighten up my team in 37. 38, there could be some interesting punts as well. And I'd only have 1 transfer for that as well, so don't know. That's where I'm at the moment, though. I'm not certain I'll bring any Palace players in, but it might be Cambo, and have another think about that. Couple of other things just to talk about then. Captaincy. I'm probably going to go Haaland, I reckon. Nico O'Reilly is... Well, Haaland's top of my model. Nico O'Reilly second. I guess Haaland's had better form now in the last 6, so that's why I think in a couple of game weeks ago, I think Nico O'Reilly was higher. But Nico O'Reilly's XGI is insane. It's like basically the same as Haaland's. It's like more XGA than XAG than XG, but pretty good in the last 6. And he obviously has clean sheet chances as well. One thing I was thinking about with captaincy is that, see, this is the thing about EO, is I always hate it when you have a captain who you have a player, like I didn't captain Haaland last game week and he was over 100% EO, so he actually played against me. I captained Bruno. Whoever I'd done would have been playing against me, but I had like 56% of Haaland playing against me, and I've always hated that. Like, it feels such a weird thing to have a player on your team. It's like you're playing with 10 men because you've got a player on your team, but he's playing against you. But I think I need to try and get my head around that, because technically I don't think it should matter. Like, if I was to captain O'Reilly instead, well, I'd have, like 40%, well, 50-60% Haaland against me, but I'd have 140% or 130%, whatever it is, of O'Reilly, his points counting. And at the end of the day, I was trying to think, like, if I had 11 0% EO players, then I would have, and including captaincy, that would be like 1200% EO, all for my players. For me, I'd get 1200% gains. But every other manager can only pick 11 players and a captain, so that's 1200%. And if every single manager in the game pick Haaland, then he'll be 100% EO. And if 50% of the other managers pick Haaland and 50% pick Pedro, they'll both be 50% EO. And so it always adds up to 1200%. So I think whatever I've got 1200% EO effectively, and I'm playing against 1200% EO. I think, I haven't done the maths, I can't quite figure it out, but I feel as though if I was to captain O'Reilly instead of Haaland, yes, I might have a 200% Haaland against me, because of course there's going to be triple captains this game, which makes the maths worse, but forget about that. But let's say I got a really high EO Haaland against me, but then I'm going to have like 100% or over like 120% of an O'Reilly points being added. So I feel as though I probably shouldn't think about it. I should just pick the one who I think is best. And so I think O'Reilly is maybe fine if you think he's going to be the one. But I don't think I'm going to do that, especially if I'm bringing a Hinshelwood in. Maybe that's enough of a punt. And I think I'm going to stick with Haaland, because I feel like he's the kind of player who will know that people are triple captaining him this week and will put in a display or something. He'll rise to the occasion. I don't know if that's crazy to think that, but he seems like the type of person who would know about that and be up for getting some goals. Whereas, you know, he's the star man. Whereas O'Reilly's he's just a kind of a background figure, but he's doing well. But I don't know. I'll look into it. I mean, let's just see what O'Reilly's been up to lately. When's his last return? He had a goal and assist there, assist against Arsenal. He's had nothing in the last two. I think he might have got something in Europe or a cup or somewhere, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be Haaland for me. Probably. I'm not that chasey. So Haaland cap. And then the only other things I think I was going to mention is, let me just double check. I think I was going to mention just some other punts you could go for. So like Everton will be playing a tired Crystal Palace after a double game week, a potentially on the beach Sunderland, and then a potentially safe Tottenham on the final day. So Everton could be something people want to look at. Their XG is not that great though. Most of their players are all kind of like 0.3 XG kind of players. So I'm not sure I'm massively keen on them, but I might do if I need a cash cow in 37, and I may look to Everton players. And I'm thinking also Brentford against Palace here in 37. I think that could be. Why did I think that was good? Brentford 37, Palace. Yeah, no. What did I say? Oh yeah. So where were I? Everton. Yeah, so Everton, Palace. Palace will be playing in Europe. That's why. So Everton will be playing a tired Palace because of the European fixture, and then Brentford will be playing a tired Palace because of their double game week. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe a Thiago could come in if I don't go for a Gyökeres or something. And again, so is a Canvo over a Senesi better than a Thiago over a Calvert-Lewin or a Pedro against Pedro against Tottenham after an FA Cup final? That's another thing about Chelsea. They've got that FA Cup final, haven't they? So probably not. So yeah, I may not go for the Palace. I may not go for any Palace, which is a bit of a turnaround when I had planned to go for 3. Yeah, I think that's the lot of my thoughts. So that's the thinking. That's the thinking. That was a big old fire hydrant of thoughts. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. So, okay, thanks for listening. See you later.